Welcome to the Angus Report. I'm Clint Mefford, and we're bringing you the latest cattle news and education. This week, Dr. Dan Moser discusses updates to the Angus dollar values. We visit Reno, Nevada in preparation for the 2019 National Angus Convention and Trade Show, and we learn about a monk community's involvement in the Angus seed stock business. This is the Angus Report. The American Angus Association Board of Directors approved changes to the dollar value indexes this spring. Changes include revisions to beef value, the addition of maternal wean calf value, rounding all dollar values to whole dollars to eliminate decimals, and the elimination of quality grade and yield grade. Dr. Dan Moser, president of Angus Genetics Incorporated, walks us through the dollar value changes that producers will see at the end of the month.
Today I'd like to talk to you about the new dollar value updates that are coming on May 31st to the Angus Genetic Evaluation. Angus dollar values have been around since 2004 and have served the industry very well, but the organization felt it was time to update the dollar values with improved models and better characterized cattle for today's economic conditions. Part of the impetus to update dollar values came first from the 2016 Long Range Strategic Plan, where one of the action items under genetics was to provide updated economic indexes. But also then a survey that was part of the index project completed by over 3,000 participants gave us very useful feedback on how both Angus breeders and their commercial customers use these dollar values in their breeding programs. There'll be a number of changes implemented on May 31st of this year. Starting with the dollar B, there'll be a new economic model that better characterizes things like endpoint and dressing percent. It also shifts a bit more emphasis toward marbling and not quite as much emphasis on growth, although it still rewards higher performing, faster gaining cattle. But as we see greater premiums for prime and CAB carcasses, those underlying values shift some of the emphasis toward Angus cattle that produce higher quality carcasses. While the changes in dollar B won't be quite as noticeable because the old and new dollar Bs are highly correlated, you will notice a bigger change on the maternal side. While we're continuing to produce dollar W with the economic model currently used, we're also unveiling a new dollar M, a maternal wean calf value that adds a number of additional traits that have been in the Angus genetic evaluation for several years, but never included in any of the indexes. The new dollar M, I think, does a much better job of characterizing the efficiency of the maternal side of beef cattle production. There are a couple of redundant values that we'll be removing from the Angus genetic evaluation, specifically dollar $QG and dollar $YG. Dollar $QG is just the economic impact of marbling, but bulls rank exactly the same for dollar $QG as they would for marbling EPD. So it's really taking up unnecessary space on screens and documents. Also, dollar $YG is heavily influenced by fat, as is the USDA yield grade equation. Fat, ribeye, and carcass weight, all those values are included both in the individual EPDs, but also in dollar F and dollar B. Also on May 31st, we'll provide updated models for dollar F and dollar G, which are components of dollar B. Dollar F is feedlot profit, which represents gains in feed efficiency as well as rate of gain. Also, dollar G is grid merit or additional profit gained through marketing cattle on a grid. And also for dollar EN, which is cow energy cost. So higher numbers represent savings in energy costs due to lower mature cow size and lower milk. One of the things that producers may notice is that all the dollar values will be now rounded to whole dollar units rather than to pennies. That seems more practical and more reflective of the precision to which these things are calculated. And so rounding them to the whole dollar still allows you to rank cattle and see differences without taking up, again, a lot of unnecessary space that really doesn't add new information. All these updates will be put into practice on May 31st of this year. That's the typical time when we provide updates and changes into Angus genetic evaluations as we have in years past. That allows producers to take some time to study the new values, to understand the ranges, the percentiles, learn a little bit more about them, ask questions about them to AGI staff, AAA regional managers, so that when the fall comes around and marketing begins and selection begins again, they'll have a good grasp on these values. Another feature of the new Angus evaluation is the potential to calculate a combined index. That was part of the action items identified in the 2016 Long Range Strategic Plan that was approved unanimously by the Board of Directors at that time. And we've heard a number of industry segments, from commercial cow-calf producers to Angus seed stock breeders, ask about the ability to combine the terminal side with the maternal side of production. And in fact, Angus breeders have been doing that for years as they practice sire selection using EPDs and the dollar values that we have today. And so while we won't produce a dollar C, a combined index on May 31st, we are making it available for breeders that want to have it on their own cattle. So for Angus breeders can go into AAA login and into custom animal reports and check a box where if they want to produce a list of their own animals with the dollar C values calculated, it's simply just $M plus $B times a multiplier. But that information will be available for Angus breeders to do on their own. And the educational materials will also describe how to calculate dollar C from $M and $B. So if producers want to do that on their own or other parts of the industry want to do that, they're available to do it. It just won't be an official number that's published on Angus registration certificates, on Angus animal lookups on the website, for example. Then furthermore, a year from now, in end of May, 1st of June of 2020, then our plan is to release dollar C as an official value. The combined index would be calculated on all animals at that time. If you have additional questions about Angus indexes, all this information is available at angus.org/index, or you can contact AGI staff to find out more information about these new tools.
Stay tuned, we'll be back with more Angus Report after a break. Welcome back to the Angus Report. Two bills aimed at providing relief for livestock haulers have been introduced into Congress. The Modernizing Agricultural Transportation Act was put forward in the U.S. House of Representatives on May 2nd, and the Transporting Livestock Across America Safely Act was introduced on the Senate side. The proposed bills are among several that attempt to address concerns for livestock haulers regarding hours of service regulations. Both legislation pieces are similar versions that have been introduced in the past. The Senate bill is supported by the National Cattlemen's Beef Association and is just one item among many which they are working on to find relief for livestock haulers in a divided Congress. Visit congress.gov or ncba.org for more information on legislation regarding livestock transportation. A new report called A Case for Rural Broadband, Insights on Rural Broadband Infrastructure and Next Generation Precision Agriculture Technologies has found that improvements in broadband infrastructure and digital technologies could induce benefits of nearly 18% of total agriculture production. Of that 18%, more than 1/3 is dependent on access to high-speed, reliable internet. At least $47 billion in national economic benefits could be realized every year if that infrastructure and technology could be scaled to meet producer demand across the country. Broadband e-connectivity and next-generation precision agriculture technology are critical to creating access to vital resources, tools, and opportunities for American farmers and ranchers, according to Agriculture Secretary Sonny Perdue. Visit USDA.gov to view the full report. The USDA, FDA, and EPA recently announced April as Winning on Reducing Food Waste Month, and the National Biodiesel Board sees biodiesel as an active player in this campaign. Recycling cooking oil for biodiesel production is a great way for restaurants to reduce their food waste, says Don Scott, Director of Sustainability for the National Biodiesel Board. Recycled cooking oil is the second largest oil source for biodiesel, with an estimated nearly 2 billion pounds diverted from landfills each year. Historically, restaurants would pay to have their used oil hauled away. Today, it's common for the oil to be removed at no cost because of its valuable properties with regard to renewable energy. A rendering process captures the raw materials from the used cooking oil and turns them into renewable fuel, making biodiesel a significant contributor to the food waste reduction campaign. Visit biodiesel.org for more information. We check in now on the latest cattle market news with the Cattle Facts Update.
Hello, and welcome to the Cattle Facts Update. I'm Tanner A. Heron. The drop credit value, also known as hide and offal, consists of everything besides whole muscle cuts or trim from the cattle when they are harvested. Some examples of drop credit products include variety meats, tallow, meat and bone meal, and a major component is the hide, which equates to almost 1/3 of the total value. Since the cattle cycle highs were made in 2014, hide values have been trending lower. At the peak in late 2014, the value for hides was over $8 per hundredweight on a live basis. So far in 2019, hides have been trading below $3 and already took out last year's low. With slaughter levels seasonally increasing into the summer, this will likely further pressure the hide market. Couple the added supply with weaker demand due to more synthetic leather usage, and there's nothing that suggests prices will improve going forward. Now, not all drop credit products have experienced a year-over-year decline in value. Through April, variety meat prices, which make up almost half of the total drop credit, have averaged 5.5% above 2018. Still, the increase was not enough to offset the fall in hide values. As a result, the drop credit has hovered near $9 per hundredweight in 2019 and is currently testing last year's lows. The hide and offal has not consistently traded at this level since 2009 and is far from the peak of $16.74 made in 2014. With historically strong margins, the packer has little incentive to defend the drop credit. Combine this with the seasonal index that suggests the trend is lower through the year, and the drop credit has risks back to low $8 per hundredweight. Because the packing segment is enjoying record profits, the depressed hide and offal value is not as concerning compared to the past, but it would have a bigger impact on the fed cattle market if margins do become squeezed. For the Angus Report and Cattle Facts, I'm Tanner A. Herron.
To learn more about Cattle Facts, your leading source for beef industry market information, visit cattlefax.com. Next on the Angus Report, we head to the biggest little city in America, Reno, Nevada, to visit the site of the 2019 Angus Convention. Stay with us.
The 2019 Angus Convention is headed west to Reno, Nevada. Our industry-leading event offers unparalleled educational opportunities, an expansive trade show with plenty of time for networking, and entertainment by Lubbock's own Flatline Cavalry. And this year, the tour kicks off November 1st with the tour of Bentley Ranch. They're on the cutting edge of sustainability practices on their grass-fed beef operation. Let's learn more about Bentley Ranch.
Bentley Ranch started back in the mid-60s. Don Bentley, the original founder, started to put together all the real estate holdings at that time. And to this day, we're still expanding and adding new operations. So here in the Carson Valley, we run our cows on a mix of irrigated pastures in the valley, some BLM permits kind of in the mountains, and then Forest Service permits in the Sierra Nevadas. Our cattle also go over to California in the wintertime and spend their calving there in Red Bluff, outside of Red Bluff, California. So the feed yard that we have is a small grow yard. We do our backgrounding of our calves after we wean them there. I have about 800 head capacity inside the pens, about another 1,000 head capacity outside that bunks feed in and out of pastures. With that, we take we'll recycle that manure and take it into our compost yard and use it there for fertilizer. We're also utilizing the distiller's grains from the distillery and having some cattle on feed for our meat business. It's been a slowly evolving idea to be reusing as much as we can. The compost yard and that operation has been going for 25 years. We've just added to it. We utilize a lot of the water, excess water and stuff from the distillery in the compost yard. We'll use the distiller's grains from the distillery. They'll go to the cattle division, and we just try to reuse as much as possible instead of just putting it in the compost. If we can find another use for it before it makes there, we try to do so. Bentley Meats division started about 5 years ago, and we started working just out of the office with frozen products. Started with 2 head. This year we're looking to do a little over 400 head. We added to it by adding the butcher shop. We had a gas station mini mart that wasn't being used, that already had refrigeration and freezers in it. We retrofitted those so they're a little more retail friendly. Built a cut room in the middle of the building that's all climate controlled, so we can cut the meat and everything right there. So we're trying to be as farm to glass, farm to ground as possible with our operations, and People can come in there 6 days a week, buy our meat, watch the butchers work, get custom cuts of meat, anything we can do to make their experience better. Distillery, the idea flourished about 6 years ago. The building was mothballed and had been mothballed since the mid-60s, and we always wanted to do something with it. It was a beautiful, neat building, and we just didn't know what to do with it. The idea of the distillery came about, and we slowly built upon that idea to what we saw today of the finished product open to the public, of reutilizing as much of the wood and the interior as possible. The silos are hollowed out so the bourbon stills are inside the silos. And it was just more of what can we do with these buildings? What can we combine the distillery and a historic building, and what can we create? And it's been a lot of fun. It's been a fun process. So one of the things I would tell somebody coming from a different part of the country to come to Nevada, just to see a different part of the world. You know, Nevada, everybody thinks of Nevada of Las Vegas and deserts. Well, we're not Las Vegas and we're not a desert. We're growing some really cool stuff. We're doing some fun things. We have beautiful scenery to look at. And yeah, just come see the rest of the world, how other people do it.
Now that you've learned more about Bentley Ranch, we hope you join us for the National Angus Tour on Friday, November 1st. Registration opens July 1 at angusconvention.com.
Welcome back to the Angus Report. Even before Father Patrick entered the monastic life at the Subiaco Abbey, he dreamt of owning and operating a cattle farm. When his dreams didn't quite work out, he assumed managing cattle wasn't in God's plan for him. He later entered monkhood at Subiaco Abbey, where his dreams finally came to fruition, and feeding and caring for 300 head of registered Angus cattle is part of his daily routine.
Human beings are body and soul. You know, we take care of our bodies, we take care of our souls as well. What attracted me to the Benedictines was their balance of work and prayer. We have a cycle throughout the day of where we have specific times of the day that we pray together, either privately or in community, and then there's times that we actually do various work. And the bells tell us, if you heard the bells tell us what time it is, so we know what activity is next. A lot of us don't wear watches. All the monks wear several hats. One of my assignments is on the farm. I've always used my hands my entire life. My father's in construction. So I'm a laborer, you know. I'm the guy that picks up the sticks and fixes the fence and feeds the cattle, and I help move them, of course. And I enjoy that. Long before I got to the monastery, I was looking for land. I was going to actually have beef cattle, a commercial farm. I could never work that out exactly. And then when I came out here for a private retreat, I had no idea I was going to be joining this. And I didn't even know they had cattle when I came out here. A monastery is an obvious place that has a lot of tradition, a lot of things that carry on year to year. Trying to remember that unless you're constantly evolving, you kind of get left behind. So we want to move forward, but we also want to keep our traditions and our history. And one of the things that you have is you'll have a particular monk that has like the latest technology, but won't throw away a piece of wire because we might be able to tie up a piece of fence with it someday, you know. And that's kind of nice because we do live a simple life. So even while we're moving forward, we want to be very good stewards of our resources. When the monks first came here in the late 19th century, the abbey had a farm for sustenance. You know, they grew their own vegetables and plants, and they had hogs, and they had chickens, and they had cattle for their own table. In 1999, the abbey moved into the registered Black Angus current cattle operation we have. We have close to 300 head on the property right now, and there's probably 250 of those are cows, and we have a calving season both in the spring and in the fall. The Angus operation is very popular in this area. We're in a farming community. Everybody around us has farms. One of our former abbots, Michael Lensing, was instrumental in founding the Subiaco Co-op that's downtown. And that keeps us connected very deeply to the entire agricultural community of the area. It's interesting living with 40 men, you know. There's this rose-colored vision of the monks with their hands prayed in all day like this in silence, but that's not the reality. We're human. We have to interact with one another. We humble ourselves to what others need or what they're feeling today, being compassionate for one another. While I can be frustrated with a particular monk on a particular day for something he did, he's still going to be down there at prayer with me at 5:30, praising God and praying for the whole church. So we have the same goal, we have the same mission. That's what makes us grow together and bond to one another. I think that interaction is what makes us holy. God works in mysterious ways. I ended up being in the cattle business without even trying to be in it. I believe that by producing the best quality cattle, we put better meat out there for people to eat. I know that the beef industry is going to contribute to feeding the world.
Well, that's a wrap for this week's Angus Report. Tune in next week for industry-leading news and education. And be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Angus TV, for more highlights from the association. We'll see you next week.